Hey, I'm Elliot and he's John.
Hi, I'm John and he's Elliot.
And this week we're joined by our good friend and my personal mentor, Matt Pidgeon.
We'll be talking about leading worship, what Christian music really is, and sharing some stories from the past. You're listening to The Still More Show. I've got quite a funny way to start off this podcast. So me and Elliot were sort of planning what we were going to speak about. And we somehow came up with the idea that we're going to do extensive background checks on all our guests. So I started scrolling down your Facebook page, Matt.
Oh dear.
July 14th, 2016. Hadn't left the house for days, but now with Pokemon Go, all I want to do is go out for walks. It's a beautiful statement.
That's a great. I feel everyone in that. What year was that? 2014?
16.
2016.
That was the summer when everyone did it, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think John or I did it, but yeah, most people.
I mean, most of us say that.
All right. Well, you guys there. Matthew Pidgeon.
Hello.
Welcome to the Still More Show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I mean, thank you for thanking us, yeah. So we just want to start off by getting to know you a little bit, Matt. Obviously, we know you, but we want our listeners to get to know you a little bit because there might be some people listening who don't know you. But at the same time, they might all know you because it might just be like my mum, and she does know you. But you are from Carshalton in Surrey. Is that right?
Oh, is that taken from my Facebook page?
I can't tell you where it's taken from. I just know that you're from Carshalton in Surrey.
Well, I did live there. I mean, I lived there for 2 years. Definitely wasn't born there. This was, living in Carshalton, Surrey was back in my Pokemon Go days.
Really?
Yeah. So that was only back in 2014, 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about 2015?
2015, I was living. Well, 2015, 2014 through 16, inclusive.
Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, before that I lived in Essex. Before that I lived in Hampshire. I've moved around a fair bit. So yeah.
So that perfectly tees up our first point. Really, what are you doing in Leicester? Why are you? Because you live in Leicester now, as do me and John. For anyone that doesn't know that. Yeah. What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? Well,
you make you sound unwelcome. You're welcome in Leicester.
Thank you. So just first of all, I have to preface this by saying Leicester for me is the north. So I'm a true southern boy.
Right, you better know we're going to cut that. You better know.
I'm here up north in Leicester. So I work for church. I work for Holy Trinity Leicester, which is the church that you go to, Elliot, and you've been involved in as well, John. I've been here coming up for 4 years actually, which is quite scary.
Wow. Yeah.
I came here initially to do an internship with the church, similar to what John's been doing this year. And really enjoyed that. So stayed on for a second year and kind of developed in terms of the work I was doing. And after that, I got offered a job. And
So what is your job now? Just cover it very quickly. What do you
I'm
do
an
now?
assistant minister. So I'm involved in mission and discipleship. So basically, we're quite a big church. So we've got smaller churches within the church where people kind of find their place of belonging. And part of my job is to help those communities, those little churches within the church to function well and to do outreach stuff for the church, reaching out into the community, things like that.
Wow.
Great.
Very nice.
So we've got it's sort of our own taste on what's our average week. But what we'd like to do is, what is your average 11:15 a.m.?
Are we talking lockdown here or not in lockdown?
Yeah,
give us a comparison. Give us a cheeky comparison.
Yeah, so I'm currently furloughed, so I'm not working. Okay. So my average at 11:15 would be, I'm probably either in bed or having brunch.
Having brunch?
Yeah, based on the time I get up, because it's too late to call it breakfast, too early to call it lunch, but brunch,
Sorry, go on.
I'm probably having a bagel, drinking a coffee. Yeah, that's probably my average 11:15.
I've been consistently saying good morning to people at 1 o'clock by accident.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, like naming the different meals has gone out the window. Like I'll have breakfast at 4 a.m. and then dinner, like in the evening or so. Like it's so varied. Like
dinner is the evening.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Dinner's supposed to be in the evening.
I mean, it's strange, but I think it's quite good. I think it's kind of like getting back to our primal instincts. We eat when we're hungry. We get up when it feels natural.
Yeah.
I agree. I think for the first time, I'm actually feeling like I'm not being pushed, and I'm still noticing that like I do naturally want to get up at a certain point. I don't just want to stay in bed all day. But yeah, you touched on bagels there, which has just triggered something, and it's just reminded me. John, do you want to ask the all-important question of the week?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Matt, we've just been wondering, do you have a favourite toastie? As
now,
you know, toasties are very important here on the Stillmore Show.
Incredibly important, and I've been thinking about this since your very first episode. I was inspired by Tales of the Wamwich.
Oh yes, it's catching on.
That's my autobiography. I've dibs that. Yeah. Tales of the Wamwich.
Does this have to be toasty, or can I go sandwich?
No, it can be sandwich. It can be sandwich.
So my ideal sandwich, and I've been having this a lot over the past few weeks, is a BALT. About. Yes.
So hang on. Let me guess. Bacon.
Yep.
Apple? What's A?
Come on, apple. I'm not Cameron Plant now. I'm not putting fruit in sandwiches.
That's true. I mean, Cam with the grapes last week was just.
We'll get to that in a sec.
I mean, the tea is technically a fruit, but
the what is?
The tea is technically a fruit.
The tea is a fruit.
Tomato.
Technically, yeah.
Tomato. Oh, okay. So you got bacon.
It's a classic BLT, but with an added ingredient.
What is it? An avocado.
There we go. Bacon, avocado, lettuce, tomato, with a liberal spreading of mayonnaise. Beautiful. on granary bread.
Okay.
Cut into triangles.
Triangles. That's an important thing I was going to bring up.
Not like mini triangles. I'm not talking like afternoon tea or like kids party triangles. I'm talking like big triangles. So just one cut diagonally through the bread.
Yes.
Granary's got to be granary bread.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's fresh.
Tesco meal deal style cut.
Exactly, but homemade. So it feels even better.
Yeah.
It's even fresh.
Unsmoked bacon as well.
Yeah.
Smoked bacon's like slightly too overpowering.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, so unsmoked, got to be fried, get it nice and crispy. Mayonnaise on both sides of the bread, beautiful, fresh.
Mayonnaise on both sides.
Yep, that's it.
I mean, just out of curiosity, do you have a problem with toasties, or do you just not have a toasty maker?
Have you tried toastying that?
Yeah, have you tried toastying? That's not a verb. It's just toasting.
No, it's toastying. You can't.
No, it isn't. It's toasting.
Because you're not just toasting. No, I can't. No, it's toastying.
It's not. It's toasting.
No, you're turning it into a toasty. You're not just toasting it.
Does it depend what you're using to make it into a toasty? Because if you're putting it under the grill, maybe you're toasting it. But if it's going in a toasty maker, you're toastying it.
Yeah. I would say if it's under the grill, you're surely grilling it.
Probably true.
Yeah. Oh man, these are the kind of important things that we talk about on our podcast. Really.
But yeah, so I haven't tried toasting it or toasting it either, or grilling it.
I'd be interested to see what that was like.
I don't know how like the lettuce and the tomato would go toasted. I don't know.
Grilled would work.
Yeah, because they're quite a fresh. Yeah, you don't want to like squash them in a toasty maker, do you?
Yeah, I mean to be fair, I do lightly toast the bread. So on setting 1 on my toaster, so just like ever so slightly crisp.
Yeah.
So it is technically toasted slightly.
Okay.
Oh wow.
That sounds like a solid sandwich.
It does sound good, actually. That's a better answer than Cam's, which was what? Cheese, ham, and grapes. Definitely better than that. But I think before we move on to some slightly more constructive conversation, whilst we're on food, I mean, for some people, yeah. For the kind of audience that we're drawing, yeah, probably.
Exactly. For anyone that wasn't constructive, they can just leave the podcast right now.
Okay. You don't have the power to tell people to stop listening to our podcast.
Okay. Listen to the podcast. Listen. Share it. Subscribe.
Thank you. Well, I was just going to say, whilst we're still on the topic of food, whilst we're talking quite food heavy for a moment, I wanted to throw in my the segment we introduced in the last episode, opinion of the week. I'm hitting you with my opinion this week, and my opinion is that baked beans taste like so much better cold than warm.
Oh gosh, what have we come to?
Yeah,
seriously?
I know.
Yeah, seriously, I'm deadly serious. I prefer them cold.
Gosh,
I'm as annoyed as you are, Matt.
I mean, it's an abomination, John. Surely, like, what is this? Cold?
It's not just beans with him. It's not just beans that you'll have cold.
What else?
Apparently any tinned tomato sauced.
Okay, well,
so like spaghetti hoops.
Yes, spaghetti hoops, but John's going to try and. No, I'm not such a fan of the ravioli cold, but I don't really like tinned ravioli anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really ravioli. Whoever calls it ravioli is lying.
Not really. Yeah, in fact, actually, talking about authentic ravioli, my sisters made ravioli today, and I just thought I'd give them a shout out because they'll be happy with me for doing that. My sister, who's 11, she's getting really good at cooking.
You let your sisters listen to this?
We don't put an age restriction on it, so if they find it, they find it.
That's true.
No, it's completely child friendly. If there are any children listening, you're very welcome here. But yeah, that was my opinion. It's nice to know that no one's on my side at all.
Definitely not. You need to heat them up, soften them a little bit.
I like them hard.
If anything, slightly overcooked beans.
What?
Slightly wet, where it's just starting to boil slightly. I know it says on the can, don't boil, but you know, I live life on the edge. I boil them very slightly.
Yeah.
Better texture. And they've got to be Branston as well, not Heinz.
Really? That's quite interesting. So when I happen to know that you used to eat sandwiches that contained baked beans.
Indeed, this was for people who don't know. I lived with Cameron Plant, the last guest of this show, and we would occasionally, and these are toasties, not sandwiches. We put baked beans in our toasties with cheese.
Yeah,
there's
beans on toast, but in toast.
Absolutely,
perfectly acceptable.
Horrible for the toasty maker. Got in a complete state, particularly if Cameron was doing it.
That's why you don't eat toasties now, because you broke your toasty maker.
That's very true. Very true.
I'm going to go to something, just a story from the past, which will hopefully lead us into something that's
more
constructive.
Go for it. Yeah.
We're going to talk about Soul Survivor a little bit. Which is a Christian festival. We went through it a couple episodes ago.
Oh, we did explain it actually. Yeah, sorry.
Christian festival where it's like a camping thing, lots of teenagers. Anyway, I'm going to talk about a specific prank that didn't pay off too well, or it did in
I would say it did. Yeah.
Go on, Elliot, explain it a bit.
Matt, we were wondering if you actually remember this or if you've blanked it out. But do you remember on the last night? So at Soul Survivor, you're camping in tents and whatever. Matt was there as one of the youth leaders when we were in the youth group last year. And on the last night, we thought it would be funny before he went to bed to put a massive rock, it must have weighed a few kilograms, on Matt's airbed, but like under. Did we put it in your sleeping bag?
I think there were multiple things here. I mean, maybe I have blocked this out slightly, or maybe I was just delirious from the stress of looking after
possibly
delinquent teenagers. I think is probably the reason. There was definitely something in the sleeping bag. I think there was some stuff under the airbed as well. But all I know was that the airbed had completely gone down.
Yeah, and that was where it just went wrong. We didn't want you to have a bad night's sleep, but we're going
a funny way about it.
So here we are on record to apologise, but also tell you that it brings us great joy to think about it.
I've been harbouring a grudge since then, so I'm glad you've made a public apology. Very glad.
So obviously, we write songs. We haven't written songs for ages. It seems like we don't. We have written songs.
Yeah, that's true. I've forgotten how, actually.
And Matt, obviously, you write songs as well. You've been writing for Trinity and whatnot in the past few months. So the first question is, when did you start writing songs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very flattered you refer to me as a songwriter or someone who writes songs. Wouldn't necessarily be the thing I would describe myself as primarily. Yeah, I mean, I remember, so I've been strumming along at the guitar since I was 7 or 8 years old. I remember writing songs with some mates at school. We had a little band. We were called Black Lightning. Shout out to the Black Lightning boys.
Black Lightning.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, we were initially called the Black Skulls, but my Christian parents didn't really like that very much.
Not surprised.
And the drummer in the band, great guy. His parents didn't like it either. The other guys in the band didn't quite understand. But yeah, we managed to change to Black Lightning, so slightly less dark. Yeah, and so I started writing songs with these guys. We recorded a couple when we were like properly young. I mean, I'm glad none of this stuff is published.
Does it still exist?
Well, there might be some of it in the deep dark hole of YouTube somewhere. And yeah, on there is a very high pitched pre-voice broken Matt. Yeah, singing some not very good songs, but yeah, it was fun. This was we did this kind of towards the end of primary school into secondary school.
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean, I guess that's what started it off for me.
Wow.
And yeah, and then from there, I started getting into some of the Christian stuff, kind of doing worship and writing some songs. Yeah, none of them particularly very good, but it's always something I've dabbled in occasionally.
Yeah. How many songs roughly would you say you've written? Would you have any idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult question, that. I mean, you ask any songwriter, they've probably got lots of kind of half-finished or quarter-finished songs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we're talking like full songs that are, complete.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't necessarily have to be happy with them.
No.
Maybe like 5 or 6 songs. So not loads. Not loads of like complete full songs that, I could play through. And none of them particularly amazing, but yeah, lots of like little lines that I've written that I probably can't remember now, or like little half choruses and stuff like that.
Yeah, my laptop is just full of nonsense like that. It's just got so many like 10-second demos of like little melodies and just all this stuff that one day I might use. Who knows? But...
And I feel like that's what it's got to be like.
Yeah,
you can't. I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot. You can't kind of be kind of religious almost with the ideas you have, and the amount of times that even for the song that I released on Trinity's EP, there's stuff in there that were kind of intended for other songs I had, or half songs, like little bits of a bridge that are used in the chorus, or like something for a verse that gets used elsewhere.
Yeah.
So being willing to like break up ideas you have and not kind of hold to them too strongly, I think is a really important thing when it comes to songwriting.
So is that how you sort of go about songwriting? You write like little bits and then sort of try and work from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, people talk about like the different methods of songwriting, and people always ask you, what's your way? Do you start with lyrics first, or chords, or melodies, or whatever? And I really struggle to answer that question because I don't naturally kind of work well with the idea of, right, I'm going to sit down and write a song now, or I'm going to sit down and be creative. Like, it kind of just comes. So there's stuff that, literally I'll be like walking down the street or doing some washing up or in the shower or whatever, and like stuff just comes to me, like little grooves or little ideas. And sometimes I like them and write them down or record them on my phone. Sometimes they're pretty crap and I throw them out. And sometimes they become songs. They kind of evolve from there. And I'll bring in ideas from other places. I just kind of go with the flow and see what sounds good,
Yeah, it is a difficult question to answer, which is why we've asked you, really, and it's why we asked Cam a similar thing last week as well. Like, because everyone has a different process. And
how did you guys go about doing it?
How did we? I don't know. We just kind of I've said it a couple of times on the podcast already, but we had tried writing secular music together a couple of times over the years, and we tried it by literally sitting down, John with his guitar, me at a keyboard, and just like trying to play, but we just like hit a wall instantly, like nothing would come. And now I look at it and I'm like, no wonder, we just didn't have a starting point. We didn't know what we were trying to get to, what we were trying, we hadn't decided what we wanted to do. And then last summer, when we finally decided, let's write Christian music, the first songwriting session we had together, it just started flowing. And to talk actually about the technique that we would say we used, I think we'd often work out what we wanted a song to be about. So we decided that we wanted to write a few songs based on the book of Ephesians in the Bible, and then so we studied the book a bit. We came up with some good themes from that book that we wanted to write about, and then that's where it's hard to explain how the next bit happens. I guess you then find chords that you like in a certain order, or you come up with some lyrics and then a vocal melody. And the reason why this question is so hard to answer is because it changes like from song to song.
Yeah.
I guess for us as Christians, there's like a different dynamic to it as well, where we're not just coming up with stuff that sounds good, but we're wanting to kind of do it for God and from God and all of that stuff as well. So
yeah, exactly. What were you going to say? Sorry, John.
I was going to say we have almost like polar opposite writing styles, as in like how we go about writing the song, which helps because
it works for us a lot.
Work from both ends, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that is that you like to start with the music and the instrumentation, and I like to start more with the vocals and get a vocal melody. And I think it's because I'm a singer, and I mean I'm a musician, but to a limited point. It's the singing that I prefer to focus on. So I always want to get that vocal melody done. That's the way I look at it. I always just want to get that like sorted, and then create the song around that.
And it's great that you guys get to work together because you clearly work really well together and bounce off of each other.
we try.
You got to play to your strengths, and that's one of the things I would always say is that you just got to be yourself, be natural, and not try and fit yourself into like a mold or a method.
Absolutely.
Do what works for you and play to your strengths.
The Trinity EP came out very recently, in which you had a part in. Would you like to tell us what it was like?
So really honoured and blessed to kind of have a song that I was involved in writing on the EP. So this is, for people who don't know, this is HTL Worship's EP. We Say Yes is the album.
That's the name of the EP. That's not just your opinion, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your review of the EP, isn't it? Yeah, we say yes.
That's it. That's my stamp on it. Matt Pidgeon's stamp of approval.
Yes.
Buy it. So So this has been a project that has been in the pipeline for a while. It's been a long time coming. And so Holy Trinity have been just encouraging people to just write songs, just as many songs as possible. For every 100 songs that you write, there might be one that you really want to put on an EP or an album. If you're looking for a full kind of 10-track, 12-track album, you're writing a fair amount of songs there. So that was where it started, was just getting people to write songs, to collaborate, which was a really big part of the album, people working together. And so the song that is on there that I was involved with was You Are Our Desire.
What was your involvement? Sorry.
So myself and Dave Hendra, we wrote it together. Co-writing, which is really fun, really good to write songs collaboratively.
And Dave is great. We obviously, the single that we've got out at the minute, Turn to See, the collaborative artist on there, Icon, that is Dave Hendra's band. And so we work very closely with him on that. And so having worked with him as well, he's so great to work with. He's such a good guy.
Absolutely.
And he really knows his music and his faith. It's all, it was such an honour to work with him for us.
He's the complete package, isn't he? I mean, if I was a Christian lady, I'd be marrying him if he wasn't already married. He's a great guy.
Wouldn't we all?
Absolutely. Just a great guy, and I love the way his mind works. And we had a lot of fun working on the song, which kind of came out of just a spontaneous session, really, of just worshiping, of just singing, and I think we were singing. What were we singing? It was "Build My Life" by House Fires. We were singing. We were just playing around the chords of the bridge, and this line just started to come, and that was what eventually became the bridge of the song. So if you go and listen to that song, you'll notice the chords of the bridge are the bridge of Build My Life, the first half of it anyway. So we just kind of jammed around that. And
do you sing on it as well?
I do. Yeah. So it's my vocals on there, which was really fun to do. It's been a long time since I've done anything like that.
Yeah. Since Black Lightning.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a while since my Black Lightning days.
I mean, thankfully, I sound like a man now, so that's kind of useful. Yeah, I mean, so I did a little bit of recording vocally when I was in sixth form. So I was the only A-level student actually my first year doing music. So it was just me and one music teacher, and
in a room.
It was great. I mean, this guy was incredible. He's this Canadian jazz guitarist who'd come in to do some maternity leave stuff just for a year. And
he was on maternity leave.
No, so he was maternity cover. So he came in for a year.
So a woman was on maternity leave.
Yes,
so
as is usually the way. Yeah,
normally, yeah. That's why I was curious.
You never know these days, but you know,
you just don't. Yeah.
So and so he came in and like gutted out 2 of the practice rooms and made a studio.
Wow.
And cool. The head of music, who was on maternity leave, kind of came back like, "What the heck have you done? You know, you literally just like built this thing, and I had no idea." But she was pleased with it because we got to record all the GCSE and A-level stuff in there, and so it kind of felt a little bit like I was almost like the assistant music teacher almost, because there was just her as the teacher.
Yeah.
So I got to do a fair bit of recording then. I'd just spend all my lunches and free periods down in the practice room recording stuff, songs I'd written and other people's stuff. I think that's kind of set me up well for stuff that I've been able to do in the future.
Yeah, wow, that would have been a dream for me at college, because I was just getting into music and recording and stuff, and I wasn't a music student. I think we've had this discussion before, like, because the music department at college is definitely where I was. It's quite cliquey.
Oh, very, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not on the inside of it, it can be really hard to get into. And I was getting really interested in playing and recording a bit of piano and vocal and whatever, and so I had to go through the music kids who I had been friends with. I had been in a secondary school band with them. I don't think we ever settled on a name. We never really had a name, but we recorded one song together when I was in year 9, and it was called "The Holocaust." And it was a song. It was a respectful, mournful, heavy rock song. And it was a piece of schoolwork. It was a piece of schoolwork that we'd been set by our history teacher. Well, we hadn't actually been set it. She set us the task of making a PowerPoint presentation, and we were like, "Nah, that's rubbish. Let's write a song." But years later in the sixth form, these same guys, they were, like I said, they were into heavy rock. They were proper, and I'm not like that at all. So I had to go through them to get access to the studio, and they were just so intimidating for me. And I have a lot of respect for them. I think they're so good at what they do, but it was hard for me to have the courage. So I think it's great to anybody who has that opportunity, especially at secondary school or in the sixth form, work, get into a recording studio. Because
it's such a shame though that people feel like that sense of intimidation. That is definitely a thing that is there amongst musicians, is that sense of like superiority and arrogance. I think that well, I've got to this standard and you haven't, and it's such an ugly thing, and that shouldn't really be there. But you do find it. I mean, I played in trumpet's actually my original instrument. I mean, cornet technically, and then I moved on to trumpet later, and I played in wind bands and wind orchestras and stuff. And I mean, you do come across a lot of arrogant people. So I was one of the only guys there who was just from a state comprehensive school. A lot of the guys there were from private schools, grammar schools, stuff like that. And there really was that sense of elitism. I've got guys kind of sitting to my left playing first trumpet, so that's kind of like, that should be the very top standard. But I've got guys sat there doing that who are like 2 grades lower than me, but because they go to a private school, they're playing first trumpet kind of thing. And it's that weird like elitism, and it's not what you know but who you know, that is so prevalent in the music industry. And it's a shame, but I guess you just got to network and
work around it. It's difficult, but that actually does bring me on to say something that I wanted to say. It came into my mind earlier, and I wanted to say to anybody who doesn't know me and John, or kind of, you've heard our music possibly and seen that we're doing all of this and trying to put out a podcast and whatever, you don't really know us. We're not classically trained musicians. We're not experts at what we do at all. No. And I guess I'm saying this as encouragement, really, because we have been blessed with this opportunity to put out a song, and we've worked really hard towards that. But there is no reason why there are anyone out there who plays an instrument to whatever level you could do that. You could get to that point where you can put a song out. We're not. I've never taken a lesson in piano or singing. I've just kind of taught myself a bit over time, and it's like Paul McCartney can't even read music. So that whole elitism, that's the thing, trying to work around that and trying to just work with what you've got, it can pay off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even without knowing people, you can put, but
great message.
Yeah. So basically nobody be intimidated by us. We're just a couple of dweebs.
Totally, can vouch for that.
Oh, cheers.
You're welcome.
Where are we at with our talking points, John?
You're meant to be watching this. I'm not good with following an order of things.
Well, I am normally, but I've just totally lost where we are. We wanted to ask you, Matt. Again, it's one of these things that's just kind of not necessarily got a definitive answer, so we're throwing it to you to see what you've got. What do you think Christian music is? How would you define Christian music? Because a lot of people ask me, what is it? They're like, is it like Ed Sheeran love songs but to God, or is what is it? That I've had that so many, like more than once. Somebody said, is it like an Ed Sheeran song but to God?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Really broad question, and is going to be different to different people.
Yeah.
As is always the way with music, it's such a subjective thing, which is part of the beauty of it, I guess. It's an art form, it's not. This isn't science, this isn't mathematics. This is art. So so Christian music. I mean, we could say, some of Mumford & Sons is Christian music because they talk about God. I mean, they don't necessarily talk about God in a positive way. I mean, you've literally got moments where he's swearing at God, and you wouldn't necessarily hear that in a church.
Yeah.
So you could say that's Christian music. I mean, he's on a journey. He's wrestling with these issues about life and faith. I think that's a really great thing. I think music's a really good way to kind of express those things. And then I guess you've got the other side, which is like worship music, which I'd say is like worship, like it's music that's intended to be used in the church. So that's like, these are songs you'd sing if you come along to a service on a Sunday evening or a Sunday morning, songs that are meant to like help connect you to God. Like music has been something that has been so important, like throughout the human story. You go back to primitive cultures and they'd sit around the campfire and they'd sing songs, and it would be a deeply spiritual thing for them. So this is like, singing is so important. And we do it in church. It's a way to connect with God. It's a way to bring us together. But I mean, it's so broad. It's so broad. So I guess it's any song that raises questions about God, that talks about who Jesus is, whether that's kind of wrestling with it, like the Mumford & Sons example, or kind of totally accepts that this is true and this is good and this is a God I want to worship and follow, and everything in between, So Christians who write music, like you guys, it's not necessarily like a song we'd use on a Sunday, but this is like music that anyone can listen to, whether you're a Christian or not. It's very broad, but I think that's one of the beautiful things.
Definitely. I like that answer a lot. There's a lot of value. And I look forward to asking other people what they think and getting some different explanations, because there'll be people who say all sorts of things. But I think you've covered the vastness of it. You've covered it vastly, and you've covered the vastness of the question.
I mean, it is so vast. I mean, you could argue that an Ed Sheeran song, if you just sing that to God, then is for you, that's a Christian song. And that just kind of shows the subjective nature to it, that if it draws you close to God, or it helps you question those big thoughts about God, about life, about faith, about meaning, then for you, sure, that's a Christian song,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there's a clear, not necessarily clear, but I think there's a distinction between Christian music and worship music.
Yeah,
like
totally.
You said, worship music is often what is written with the intention of being used in a church congregationally. People will sing it kind of to God or to help them connect with God in that moment. Whereas Christian music can be, like you said, like anything that touches on those bigger questions, or any slither of intrigue in kind of what's beyond our own planet or whatever. So
there's also if you don't, even if a songwriter has not specifically written something to be a Christian song, if they are a Christian, there's going to be some sort of element of God in that song. Just as how they live their life and how they write music and what it's going to be about, it will somehow feature it. So it's never like, it's not like it's a different thing from secular music. It's more just the mindset you've got about the song and how it's written.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that because it's like so often we have like clear dividing lines in our mind of like very black and white, like this is Christian and this is non-Christian. But it's so much more complex than that. Like being a Christian is not about going to a church or following rules or doing X, Y, and Z, but it is your entire life. It is a relationship with the Creator, and everything you do comes into that. The music you listen to, the food that you eat, the things that you do for fun, like all of that can be used kind of to connect you to the divine, to connect you to God. And I think sometimes we oversimplify things where it's much more nuanced.
Wow, I like that. That was a really that took the question further than I thought it could be taken. Really,
I have a tendency to do that. I can apologize.
No, in a good way. As in, if somebody asked me that question, I wouldn't have kind of seen how to take it that deep. But I like what you've done a lot. So we're talking about the difference between Christian music and worship music, and we're talking about the fact that worship music is led, it's congregational, it's you get a whole church singing it, whatever, and as well as writing songs, you have led worship a lot, Matt. You've got a lot of experience doing that. I'm curious what the kind of biggest or most substantial venue you've ever led worship at is, because it can be more than just leading to kind of a small congregation in a church building. There's we do some huge events and stuff. Have you ever led worship at a kind of big event?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty young, kind of the first time I did something outside of just a regular church service. So I was kind of helping to lead a youth band in my little local church in Essex, and helped to set one up in the Baptist church down the road. And we got invited to lead worship at a youth festival. So we spoke a little bit about Soul Survivor. This wasn't anywhere near as big as Soul Survivor. This was quite a bit smaller than that. A local thing for Essex. It was called Solid. And we got invited to go and lead some late night worship, which was really, really cool. So we were in this tent, and, I mean, in terms of number of people, it may be less than some of the stuff I've done now in churches. But at the time, for a 14, 15-year-old, this was like a big deal for me to go and lead worship and, do it as a team. And that was the best part of it, really, was being there together. And, we kind of felt like we got noticed, as this little youth band from a Baptist church in Essex. And, it was a local festival, but for us, it was a big thing, and it was really fun to be able to do that and to be creative with the stuff that we did. But I mean, I've had the opportunity to lead at Trinity for some big events. Every other year we host something called the New Wine Leadership Conference for the region, and we have hundreds of leaders come. The building full. I mean, how many people were there? I don't know, maybe 400 or 500, something like that. It was packed. Don't quote me on that. It could have been less, but it was big. A room full, and you guys know the size of Trinity, and some of your listeners will as well. It was packed full of people, and I had the honor of leading worship for that. That was really, really cool.
That's crazy.
And yeah, I mean, we did a big event on Good Friday a few years ago. I mean, I wasn't leading then; I was just playing electric guitar. But yeah, I mean, this was in the city centre of Leicester, and from the clock tower right through to the end of the road was just full of people.
Yeah,
I mean, that was awesome. That would have been thousands. And that was back in my intern days for the church. And yeah, I mean, it felt so crazy to me then. Like, what the heck am I doing here? I've got this little cheap pedal board that I've put together from some cheap £15 pedals I got for my birthday when I was 13, and some stuff that I borrowed, and a gift from this person, and I've kind of put together a little pedal board, and I'm trying to make a decent sound and kind of failing, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what do you prefer? Big events like that where you're seeing possibly hundreds of people all worshiping God, and that's a really powerful thing, and there's a huge movement, or do you prefer kind of a smaller, intimate gathering where you can see just as much movement of God, but it's kind of, you got that intimacy?
It's a really good question. I mean, obviously, like, seeing the big event, like all the people there worshiping God and singing and getting that instant feedback, that kind of and there's always this sense of like insecurity amongst worship leaders. I think that you want to feel like you're doing a good job, and you see hundreds of people like lifting their hands up in the air, and the lights are flashing and the smoke machine's on. Like, it feels good, like it gives you that encouragement, but that is so superficial. Like, that is not what like a good worship set, in quotation marks, a good set is. You want people to connect with God. That's the goal of worship leading. You want to lead people into God's presence, and then get out of the way as quickly as you can. And just keep people there. Keep people in His presence. You should be invisible as much as possible, and that's kind of what I'd see my role as. Is sometimes you have to kind of bring people back on track and kind of return their focus to God, but then just get out of the way and let people worship God. So the intimate setting can be great to do that as well, because you haven't got those distractions of the whole band and the lights and the arrangements you've got to do. And that is one of the other stresses of leading worship for something that's big, is that you also want it to be excellent. You want the sound quality to be really good. You've probably got some more complex arrangements that you're going for.
Yeah.
Whereas in the small intimate setting, it's probably just me on my acoustic, maybe with a cajon player, but a lot of the time it's just me, and I haven't got to think about any of that. It's just me, Jesus, and the people in the room. And I can go where I want. If I want to go into a random chorus that I know the band might not know, I can just do it because it's just me. So I love the freedom that comes from those intimate settings, but there's nothing like playing with a band and being up on stage and stuff. I mean, even the most humble of us will have to admit that's pretty cool to do that.
It's fun.
So yeah.
I'm just going to go back to the point you were making about having, like, it has to be excellent, and like, I know from like what people have told me that it can be like almost an idol that becomes, this has to be good rather than this has to be God's just a gift to Him.
Yeah, for sure.
That sometimes just overwhelms people. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's always going to be something, particularly for musicians. Like, whether you're a singer, a drummer, a guitar player, piano player, like, when you practice or you're learning your instrument outside of a worship setting, like, you're trying to improve. Like, you're trying to be better. You're bettering yourself. You're increasing your skills, and there's a goal in mind. Like, you want to be able to be more comfortable when you're playing, or to sound better, to have a better tone, or better kind of rhythmic sensitivity. All of that stuff you're trying to improve, and then you take all of that stuff to the worship setting where it shouldn't be about that. But I guess that's always going to be there because you've either been trained or you've trained yourself to make it sound good, and I think that is natural. I think it's a good thing. But yeah, I don't have a simple answer for that one, but yeah,
I think that's good. Yeah.
We've always got to bring it back to what it's about, and that is God. You know, that's the reason we lead worship. It's not about sounding good. But at the same time, like, the thing I'd always say is, you know, you imagine you've got a band up on the stage. If they're all playing completely out of time, completely out of tune, like, is that going to help you connect with God? Yeah. Probably not, because you're going to be distracted by the fact that they sound crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Of
course, yeah.
So playing good and having a good sound quality and, you know, coming up with arrangements can help to get people in the place where they're connecting with God, as long as that doesn't become the aim. You know, if the aim is to sound really good and to impress everyone with the cool arrangement, then I think we've missed it.
Yeah.
But if the goal is let's do everything we can to point people to God, then I think we're okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you.
In terms of faith and me just growing up, you've mentored me over the last few years, and we've had a close relationship where, you know, we've been meeting one-to-one every now and then, and you've been feeding me wisdom and teaching me how to grow up a little bit.
Mate, my claim to fame, you know, former mentor of one half of Still More the band. It's a good thing for the CV.
Yeah. But it's been really great to have that relationship with you growing up, and you were someone we had to get on the podcast as soon as we could to share your wisdom, because I've seen firsthand what you've got to offer. I've still got a sketch actually that's like pinned up on the end of my wardrobe that you did when we were sat in a coffee shop, and it was just like a sketch to demonstrate like a certain perspective on something in our faith. I can't remember exactly what it was now.
I mean, I can't remember either, I'll be totally honest. But...
like I don't know, it was like some what was it? I can't remember, but it basically demonstrated, like, it was basically a way of saying, look at it this way, and then you drew like, this is us, this is God, you know. And I've still
I like drawing things. It's
yeah, I agree with that. So we'll wrap up about there. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun.
It's been great.
We'll absolutely have you back at some point.
Be well up for that. It'd be really good.
Like I said, your enthusiasm has really encouraged us. It's been so good to have you on here. So yeah, thank you for giving up some time. We hope that people have enjoyed listening. Yeah. If you have, give the podcast a follow on Spotify, or subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Or if you're on Apple Music, then I don't know how Apple Music works. Like, can you subscribe? Yeah, so like follow us or something. I don't know how it works, but yeah, it would be great to have you along with us. To anybody new that's listening, or anybody old that's listening,
or anybody,
or anybody at all, anybody in the middle. Well, that's that really. I've been Elliot, and he's been John.
I've been John, and he's been Elliot. And thank you for listening to the Still More Show.
Good.
Do you know what Cam said he's doing? When I said to him, I'll let you get on with your evening, do you know what he said?
What?
He was like, I'm going to go and watch the Sewing Bee now.
What? Goodness me, what's happened to that boy?
I know. Wait, John, are you still recording?
Yep.
Okay, right, let's cut some of this into the podcast then.
Definitely.
Yeah, Cam said after we finished recording with him, he said that he's going to watch the Sewing Bee. So
horrendous. I mean, are either you guys into like Bake Off or anything like that?
No.
I mean, these are like the phases like the crazes that are happening. Like, it frustrates me. Me these days.
Weird. No, I've never. I mean, I don't knock them. Like, I went through a Strictly phase once.
There's loads of different ones. There's like pottery things and painting and all sorts.
I know. It's just like, no, I'm not really into any of that. But especially sewing. Who wants to watch? I don't want to sew myself, let alone watch somebody else do it. Like,